My name is Crystal Fletcher. I'm a lieutenant with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department in the Public Affairs Division. We are here today to share with you the preliminary results of an investigation involving crimes against children that took place within our city. The details of the case are disturbing. Please understand that given the age of the victims and the circumstances of the case, there is little we can share beyond what you'll hear today. For more information on this active investigation, I'll pass it to Captain Jason Helton.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like Lieutenant Fletcher said, the reason here today is to talk about one of our crimes against children cases. Specifically, the individual of the hardest investigation is Mr. Desmar Lamont Lockhart. He's 37 years old. Earlier this month, a victim who's now an adult came forward and spoke with investigators about her former track coach. Mr. Lockhart owns his business called Lock Nation Athletics and has a travel track team. He's an independent contractor throughout the Charlotte area and possibly across the state. The victim alleges that Lockhart began sexually assaulting her when she was 14 and did so more than a dozen occasions at different addresses while she was a client. He used his position of power as a track coach to keep her from coming forward by making it seem as though he was the only one who can ensure her success in the sport. The strength the victim showed by coming forward and speaking with our detectives allowed us to further investigate and pursue this case. As a result of the investigation, 2 other victims spoke with us and shared similar stories of sexual assault by Mr. Lockhart. The victim ages were 11, 14, and 15 at the time of the assaults. All of the victims are females. 2 are from the Charlotte area and 1 resides in the Fayetteville area. This morning, we arrested Mr. Lockhart and charged him with 1 count of statutory rape of a child 15 years of age or younger, 3 counts of indecent liberties with a child, and 2 counts of statutory sex offense with a child 15 years of age or younger. It is our strong belief that Mr. Lockhart betrayed more teens in our community, and perhaps there's elsewhere victims across the state. We are urging anyone who may have been victimized by Mr. Lockhart to come forward and speak with our Crimes Against Children detectives at 704-336-7495, or to call our Crime Stoppers to remain anonymous at 704-334-1600. Right. As a parent, we all want what's best for our children. Right. As a police captain and a parent of 2 boys, we've hired independent coaches multiple times to try to help out with our kids, right, and make them successful. Kids are vulnerable and impressionable. We all know that, right? We need to be able to trust adults, and we do. We trust teachers. We trust those coaches that deal with extracurricular activities. And so this is one of those cases where someone betrayed a child's trust, and ultimately the parents who hired them. Just some tips as we're going through. If you hire a coach or enroll children in athletics, make sure you check for references, right? Talk to somebody who's used a coach before, right? Make sure the coach is professional and who they claim to be, right? There's a lot of resources out there available to you for that. Make sure your child is never out of sight while instruction is taking place. And that doesn't matter if it's any kind of sport. It could be piano lessons, guitar lessons. You want to be there. If it's a pitching lessons, like my boys take pitching lessons, there's never a point where I can't see my child with the coach that's giving instruction. And talk to your children. All right, if something does happen, right, let them know they can tell if something's wrong. And they may not know what wrong behavior is, but if something's just a little bit off, have them come forward and talk to you. Talk to a teacher or a school resource officer. There's a lot of people that they can talk to. All right. As Lieutenant Fletcher said, we're in the preliminary stages of this investigation. We don't have a lot of information, but the main thing we're doing here today is trying to get that out, get that image out, because we feel like there's a lot of victims potentially across the state. We don't know how far-reaching this is going to be, so that's the main thing. We appreciate your cooperation in coming in today. At this point, I'll take questions.
Yes, sir. For clarity, was he a coach at a school or was he a private coach?
No, that's a great question. I knew that question was going to come up. So he's an independent coach, so he's not affiliated with school in any way. Obviously, coaching kids in the Charlotte area, he will have coached CMS kids, but there's no known affiliation between this coach and any schools in the area.
I believe we found a prior incident with him involving in 2017 where he allegedly exposed himself to a young girl?
I think that was 2019 up in a grocery store up
Okay.
in Cabarrus County. So he does have one other charge in 2019.
Was there any kind of court-ordered assessment or evaluation of what he might have been capable of, or whether he had a bigger problem?
I'm not particular with that. In this case, like I said, this just came to us recently, and we started looking back into the history of it as we were pursuing charges, and so that's kind of where we landed on that.
Can you tell us the time frame of when these incidents happened with the 3 female victims?
As far as how long ago, we're still investigating because they are being a delayed reporting. There's just a small discrepancy in when the time may have taken place as far exactly to the date. So I don't want to put that out there and be incorrect in telling you the time.
Could we say in the last few years?
Last several years?
Last several
Yes.
years.
A follow-up to that, though, I was taking a look at the warrants on e-courts. They indicated a time frame between 2018 and 2020. Is there a belief that it might be, that window might be larger?
Of course.
Yeah.
There always is. We don't know. That's why we're here today. Because we don't know how many victims, we don't know what time period, and it's crucially important we get that information out there. You guys are a partner in this, and we've got to get it out to as many people as possible. We want this image displayed so we can see victims that are out there coming forward. Because some of them, at a young age, may not even realize they were victims.
And to that point, though, I was also looking at the warrants, which also indicated that this happened at an in-home gym. We saw that it was addressed was an apartment complex. Did it happen at that apartment complex, or do we believe it happened at a different location?
So they just said at the home of the suspect. So it could have moving around different places, different residents across the Charlotte area.
Sir, you mentioned, which was really nice to just kind of give some context about how you hired coaches, private coaches before.
Sure.
You want to teach your kids, want them to be the best and give them the best opportunities. But we've seen similar cases like this about them. It tends to happen when these coaches isolate themselves with the children, right?
Right.
Could you just speak to that?
I mean, you spoke a lot with what you just said, but you don't want to ever have that one-on-one interaction with a coach outside of a parent being there. And I suggest, and my lieutenant and I were talking earlier, you wouldn't even have your kid dropped off at soccer practice and leave because you don't know what's going on. What if they got to go to the bathroom? What if they get injured, right? So we got to be vigilant as parents. We've talked about it before with, looking in their phone, seeing what's going on. Maybe the coach is contacting them one-on-one, which wouldn't be normal behavior, right? So we have to look out for everything. We have to be very cautious as parents. Yes, sir.
Was this coach contacting them one-on-one through phones?
There's nothing to suggest that at this point in the investigation, but we're not ruling that out. Yes, you.
When you're a sports coach, is there some kind of requirement that their license or that their history is looked at, or how does he continue to be in that process when he already had some record?
So he's a private contractor, and the way that works is if somebody's got experience in a certain venue, for example, if he's a track coach and he's helping people get out of the blocks faster, there's nothing as far as a background. This is all word of mouth. A lot of times they're paid through Venmo or hand-to-hand transactions as far as that goes. So there's no required background. That's why we're telling parents, if you're going to hire somebody like this, make sure you do your due diligence. Right?
So there's nothing legislative.
There's nothing legislative. There's no law to say I can't hire whoever I want to enhance the skills of my child. Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned, there could be more victims across the state.
Right.
A lot of times these victims don't even know that they were victims of a crime like this. They may be thinking, that was a little weird, but I didn't know that it was necessarily a crime. What do you have to say for the people that may be watching this about the importance of speaking out, even if, this is not a comfortable topic to discuss?
Right. It doesn't hurt to speak out. All right. So if you're speaking out and you're telling your parent, hey, this was my coach and this just didn't feel right, bring it forward. Let us investigate it. If there's not a crime there, we obviously don't charge people who didn't commit crime. So that's what we're looking for. Just anything that comes out that may be a little bit off could be something serious, and it could be a criminal activity.
Did he ever work at a school?
Did not, as far as we know.
Sir, I believe he may have been in court this morning. Is that correct?
He was arrested this morning, and he would have been first appearance, I'm pretty sure, this morning. So, and I think that's the mugshot from today, actually.
Yeah. There's another question I have here in regards to his, another thing that showed up in the warrants too, or at least his previous record. He was listed as a felon for that charge out of Cabarrus County.
Right.
Is he a felon?
He is a felon.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there, I believe, was something in the narrative, and I don't mean to contradict you, sir, but I think there was something in there about him creating an alternative Snapchat identity so that he could be contacting these victims through that private.
Yeah, and I don't consider that direct phone. So when that's what I was talking about, is clarifying that. I was talking directly text messages, but yeah, Snapchat's not out of that, and a lot of people, use that because it's there and then it goes away. So if you've got a teenager, you understand that for sure.
Is he still in
Last
custody?
question.
What's that?
Is he still in custody?
At the point of this interview, he was still in custody. Guys, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all again for joining us today. All of the information that we spoke about today will be released in a press release. It will also be on our city's website, newsroom, and on our social media channels. If you need Captain Jason Helton's spelling of his name, it's Captain Jason Helton. Thank you.
Captain in a specific division?
He's in investigations.